In this lesson, I want to take you through using a product metafield and adding a new tab to the product detail page. Here we have our product detail page. We have a nice pink robe, and you can see we have our related products section already in a tab. And we have this children's size guide. This size guide is actually a metafield, and that has been added to the page by a storefront GraphQL query added to the front matter of the product page template. And then we've simply looped through our metafields, looking for the size guide property and outputting it. But it's just at the top level of the page template right now. What we want to do in this lesson is move it into a tab, which is much more likely where you're going to find a size guide. It doesn't need to be directly on the page. Let's hide it behind a tab. But the tab is actually in its own component. So what we're going to need to do is pass the metafield data down into the component so that we can use it later. So what we're going to do is add a new property to this component partial and pass in our metafields. Now we can pass in our metafields by copying the format here, which is gql.data.site.product.metafields. GQL matches kind of the storefront matter, and then data is the placeholder for response, and then site.product.metafields is the GraphQL query that you might be familiar with. Okay, so now we're passing our metafields in. We can remove this section and move on to our tabs template. So tabs template is in templates, components, products, tabs.html. And you see the starting position for this file is that we have potentially two tabs. This is from Cornerstone out of the box. We have our related products tab, which is already visible. So we do a check here for if there's related products. And we also do a check for similar by views, which is recently viewed products. And you can see there's two kind of main sections to this component. There's an initial unordered list, which is the tabs themselves. And then there is a div of tab contents with identifiers to coordinate between the tabs and the tab contents. So we can see related products up here, and it matches the related product section at the bottom. So in theory, what we need to do is add a new tab at the top and a new tab content section at the bottom for our size guides. So let's get started and see where we end up. So the first thing we will want to do is add our new tab. Now, as a starting position, I'm going to copy the similar by views tab and then read through it and see what we need to update. Okay, so we have a list. Unless there are product related products, then we're automatically making this tab active. Now, in our situation, we're only going to want to make size guide active if there aren't any related products and there aren't any similar by views. So that gets a little bit more complicated for us. And then we want to do products similar by views. But you can't just add in unless there. So we need to consider using and neither, I think is what we'll put here. So when there is neither related products nor similar by views, then we want to make our tab as active. That makes sense to me. Great. So we go on to the next line. Let's see what else we want to change. Tab title, tab similar. Okay. So we're going to be linking to tab size guide now. Role tab index is the same. Area selected. So similarly to kind of the class, should this tab be automatically selected on page load? At the moment, it automatically selects if there aren't any related products, but we also want to make sure we're defaulting to similar by views as well. So let's also update this one. And then this condition is slightly different because we're outputting false or true. So we've got an if else block. So in this situation, what we want to do, probably an and product related products, product dot similar by views. So, an or would be better. So if there are related products or there are similar by views, then this tab is not going to be active. Otherwise it is. Okay, so that's what I've got there. Controls tab similar. So what is this going to be controlling? This is tab size guide now. And let's make this a little bit easier to read by doing that. And then similar by views. We don't have a language translation for this right now, so let's just replace this with size guide. Okay, so now we should have our new tab. No tab contents yet. Let's see what we have on the storefront. Neither doesn't match less. I missed updating, so I've got an unless that I haven't replaced an either yet. There we go. Nope. This one. Still wrong. Or doesn't match if. I'm out of practice. So I update that if to an or as well. Great. Refresh again. Okay, now we have our size guide tab. We can click on it, but no content yet. So work to be done. Okay, so then let's move on to our tab contents. Similarly, I'm going to copy one of the similar by views contents block and update it for my purposes. So we have a new tab panel. Is this hidden or not? This is the inverse of the selected query. So if there are related products, then it is hidden. Otherwise, it's false. Now we want to say if there are related products or there are similar by views products, it's true. Otherwise, it's false. So we can update this to an or as well. Then tab content has JS content unless product.related reviews is active. So again, is this tab content active? This is only active if there are neither product.related products and product.similar by views. Okay. And we want to update our ID to match the tab itself. We were referring to it as tab size guide. Okay. Great. Now we don't actually need our contents here because we're not using a carousel like the other components. What we're going to be doing is using our block that I deleted over here. So now this is where we want to update our output our size guide, but we're no longer dealing with GQL. This isn't available to us in our current context. What we did do was pass in a metafields, and you can see we passed in at this level. So we open it up here now. What we instead want to do is filter by metafields.edges, which is the same query, and then output our data. Now, if we hop back over to our stencil theme, let's see how far we got. Okay, we've got an error. What did we run into? Another neither doesn't match unless. Easily done. Neither. Thank you very much, stencil. Looking good. Fingers crossed. Okay, so we have our related products, our size guide, and now our size guide is within the tab. Now let's check something. Let's remove all of our related products and see if the size guide tab automatically gets selected and all of our logic has been correct. Great, that's saved. Let's refresh this page. Okay, wait for this to trickle through BigCommerce. Okay, so after a few minutes, actually, the related products tab has now disappeared because we have no related products assigned, and we just have our size guide. And it looks pretty active, so it's open, the tab content is shown, the size guide tab itself is bold, so should be, everything in here now should show that it's active. So we have our area selected as true, great. And then within the tab contents itself, area hidden is false. And the class is active. So we've got everything updating correctly based on our conditions and whether or not there are any related products or recently viewed products. Okay, great. So that's your new tab. Now, if you want to be belt and braces when it comes to your template, you may not actually have any metafields, and you may not have a size guide metafield. In that situation, you wouldn't want the size guide tab to be there because the contents is going to be empty. So we want to do a little bit more to protect ourselves over that situation. Now, one way we could do this is add some more loops in. So add a loop in here outside of the tab panel and add a loop in here outside the LI to essentially check for that size guide. But then we're looping, we're already looping once through our metafields. We'd then be looping through 2, then 3 times to see whether or not there is a size guide. This is a prime candidate for then using variables. So handlebars within BigCommerce supports using variables. So we can, at the top of the file, actually assign a variable like a flag and loop through our metafields, see if there's a size guide and set our flag. Then we can use that flag through our template to decide whether or not we need to be output, similar to this if statement around the other blocks. Okay, so let's get started by creating a new variable. In handlebars, it is assign bar to do this. So we have assign bar, and let's call our var has size guide, and set it to 0 to begin with. Then what we want to do is much the same as our filter down here. We're going to want to filter through our metafields for our size guide. And if we have one, we're going to update our var. So now we can assign var has size guide to 1. Great. Then around our new size guide tab, we can do an if get var size guide has size guide, sorry, is equal to 1. That is the situation, or that is the time when we want to show our tab. Similarly, we can use this new variable at the bottom to output our tab panel only when we have a size guide. And let's update the indentation there to make it a bit easier to read. Okay, so now we have our conditions of whether or not there is a size guide. We flip back and it's still working. We've still got stencil running. We're still reloading. It's still there because we do. To check, that this functionality works rather than deleting the size guide metafield, let's just look for a different one to change that. So set the check to be for size guided, refresh, and now the tab has gone. So now, this video, in summary, we have moved our metafield, that metafield-based size guide, from the product page template into the tabs component. In the tabs component, we have calculated a flag at the top to determine whether or not there is a size guide by checking for the size guide field. Let's get that updated. Then we have added a new tab at the top for has size guide and updated each of the classes and area logic for when to automatically enable this size guide tab when there are no similar by views products and no related products. Then similarly, we have used that has size guide check to add the new tab panel. Checked for related products and similar by views, updated the classes as necessary, and outputted our content. This block much the same as before, but now within our tabs component. I hope that was helpful.